Hi, today is September. Wait, I want to tell Grandma Orr what day it is first. Today is September 10th, on Monday. It's Admissions Day here in California. The day California was admitted to the Union, so it's a holiday for us. And so Dean gets out of school today. He only went 4 days last week because the last Monday was Labor Day. And so he went 4 days and had today off, so I wanted to get a tape started this weekend, and here it is Monday, and I want to try to get it to you so you'll get it this week. This is only our second tape since we've been back, and I know that's not very good. Not a very good record, so I want to try to get this one in the mail. Well, Amy is here, and she wants to talk. You want to tell Grandma Orr hi?
Yeah. Hi.
Tell her you wore your new dress to Sunday school yesterday.
I wear my new dress to Sunday school today.
Well, you got 3 new T-shirts.
For 3 new T-shirts.
And they have flowers on them.
And the flowers on it.
And lace.
And lace.
And you got 3 new pair of underpants.
And 3 new pants.
Louder, she can't hear you.
I can't.
Tell her you're gonna. Oh, you tell her about your new shoes.
No, I can't.
No, you can't. Okay, Amy just accidentally unplugged the tape recorder. You don't want to tell Grandma about your new shoes?
Yeah.
Okay.
My new shoes.
What color are they?
Brown.
Brown. You have a buckle on them.
Yeah.
Tell her they have a buckle.
And a buckle.
Hey, could you say your verses for Grandma Orr?
Love for nuts on twisting suffering.
Good.
Love her Lord Jesus 6:24.
Right.
Love her Lord Jesus.
Remember, hear the word of God and do it?
Her will, no, it's not your turn.
Okay.
Her will, God, and do it.
Right. You do the word of God, and that is obey, huh?
Yeah. I want that.
No, don't touch the buttons. Dean is in. It's about 7:30 tonight.
No, I want Amy.
You want to talk some more?
No, the Amy. Sammy. What is Amy?
Dean I thought he was in there sleeping. It's about 7:30, but he just came out here. He looks like he's still sleeping. He worked from this morning till supper time on our back porch. We got some of those linoleum squares that glue down. They have the adhesive already on the back, and you just stick them down. And it sounds like it would be so easy, but this floor on the back porch has so many little things sticking out that you have to fit the linoleum around and everything, so it really took a long time. But it really, really looks neat. It's that linoleum out there was just rotten, had big hunks out of it, and it didn't cover the whole floor. And it was real dirty. What? Oh, it was like asphalt tile. And it was just really old. And so this is kind of a gold, looks like little rocks or something. It'll be a perfect color for this red dirt around our house. That's for when we want to talk. We push that button. Anyway, it's a real good color, not to show the dust, and it's right where you walk in the door from outside. So we have enough of this left. That little extra bathroom we have off that one bedroom, it's just got a wood floor in there. And so we have enough to do that bathroom with these tiles left over. So Dean's going to do that later. Let's see. What? It's just a button. You just leave it.
It's not to push.
Can you sing Thank You, Lord, for Grandma Orr? She hasn't heard that one. Amy's just learning how to sing Thank You, Lord. You can't sing tonight? Oh, too bad.
I just say, thank you, Lord.
Right. Thank you, Lord, for saving my soul.
Yeah, I want to do.
Okay.
Thank you, Lord, for saving your soul. Thank you, Lord, for saving your
Making me whole.
soul. Thank you, Lord. It's not your
Okay.
turn. Thank you, Lord, for giving your day. Thank you, Lord, for saving our day.
Okay, that's pretty good. We got to learn the last part. Ames got the first part learned. We didn't even know she learned it until last night in bed. She was singing it, so I guess they've been singing it in Sunday school. Can you tell Grandma Orr about Hannah and Samuel?
No, I don't want to.
Okay, I'm going to talk to Grandma Orr for a while then. Last Monday on Labor Day, we went down to see Jeannie and Dave, and we really had a good...
We went down to see Jenny and Dave.
Right, and Karen and Scott.
Yeah, and Ken Scott.
She gave me a letter to send to you, and I'll put it in with the tape. It's one of those mimeographed ones. It just kind of is a general letter of how Dave's doing and everything. But he isn't really good at all. I'll let Dean tell you about when he talked to Dave and all the things he said. Dean really enjoyed talking to him. And he said his attitude since just the last time he has seen him is really different. But I won't go into it. I'll let Dean tell you. Anyway, with Jeannie, I was with her most of the day, and she's really done a lot around their house, fixing it up. And she looks real good, and the kids were real good. Karen, the little girl, Dave was so good with her, and I think she really misses not being able to be with him and play with him and stuff. And she really liked Dean before, but this time she just kept wanting him to come out and watch her do tricks outside, and kept wanting him to read her stories, and she just wanted to be with him. And I think she probably really misses her dad, not being able to do anything with her. But I wanted to tell you about this thing Jeannie told me. She said I could never tell anybody around here because it sounds so weird, but since you live with me, you'll understand me. She says she can't sleep in by Dave, I guess, because he wakes up at all hours. Just a minute. Anyway, she can't sleep in there because his brother has rigged up this thing where he can read in bed. This thing hangs above his head, and it holds his book open, and he can lay in almost any position and read his book. So if he does wake up in the night, he likes to read. So anyway, she said she doesn't want to be in there because then if he does wake up, he thinks he has to not turn the light on or lay real still and stuff. So she just, I guess a lot of times sleeps out on the couch. So she said this one night, their couch is right by a sliding glass door, and she had the drapes open, and she said she could look up and just see a patch of the sky, and there was a lot of stars there. And she said in her whole life she's not sure if she's ever really seen a falling star. If she has, there hasn't been very many of them. And she said she was so discouraged this night because Dave hadn't seemed to, change, and she just felt real discouraged. So she just said to the Lord, if you're going to heal Dave of this cancer, would you just cause a shooting star to go across the sky right now? And I guess immediately the star zoomed across the sky. And she said she couldn't believe it, when this happened. So then she thought, this is really neat. I'm going to try it again. So then she said, I don't know if I told you in the last tape, but they never told him this because they didn't think he'd live long enough to matter, but they have told him that the way his vertebrae are, it's like a shell where they took out the tumor, and it can't support his weight. And so they said he'll never be able to walk again, and I guess sitting is even a kind of a going to be a hard thing for him to do. So anyway, she just said, Lord, if you heal him, if you're going to heal him all the way so he'll be able to walk again, let me see another shooting star. And she said within a minute there was another one, and she said she just couldn't believe it. But she said that's not the kind of thing she could tell anybody, because she said she was so surprised it happened. But I'll let Dean tell you about Dave. Dave really doesn't think he's going to get better at all. He said he doesn't say much to Jeannie because he doesn't want to discourage her, but, you know, he hasn't got the same thoughts about it as she does. But they're both really, I mean, their spirits are really good, and they're just real peaceful, and Dave especially has just really grown a lot, so I'll let Dean tell you about him. Let's see. My dad's brother, his name is Herb. He lives in Chicago. He's 60, so he's older than my dad. Was out here, and they brought him up here to see us, and we went up to Lake Tahoe, and they stayed overnight. And I have a cousin, George, who's just graduated from high school, and last time I saw him he was 5, and now he's 18. And just a really nice guy. He really reminds me a lot of my dad. It was kind of neat to see a Hearst who's a boy, because I kind of saw what, if I had a brother, probably what he would have been like, something like him, because he's really a lot like the Hearst. But anyway, my uncle's not a Christian, his wife isn't, and this boy, when he was up at our house, my mom led him to the Lord, and then Dean talked to him for a really long time, and he was just so excited about it. And they live right by Moody Church, and Dean told him about that, and also about going to Basic Youth Conflicts, because it comes to Chicago. It's right near their headquarters. So it was really neat how he's a great big guy, you know, and just so excited about it, and I really felt it was genuine, you know. He just came to my mom and started asking her all kinds of questions, and he was just really wondering about a lot of things. So it was kind of neat. My uncle was here, I guess, a week. They were up here like on Monday, and then we went over after church on the following Sunday and stayed at my mom's house that night, and then went to Ginny and Dave's on Monday. And so we got to see him twice. His wife is so funny. She's Greek, and she's real heavy, kind of squatty, and real huge brown eyes, and this real curly hair. It's short all over. And she's real excitable. Dean really, my uncle is so funny. I told Dean before he came, there's 3 jokes he always tells. And I could always remember him saying them since I've been, real little. And I haven't seen him for 13 years. And I told Dean, I said, now when he comes up here, I bet he'll say these 3 jokes amongst all his other ones. And the 3 I told Dean, he said them exactly, the way I'd said them. And Dean really got a big laugh out of that. But we had a real good time with him. Let's see. This week, Basic Youth Conflicts is over in Oakland again. I really would have liked to gone again, but I didn't plan ahead enough. And my mom and the twins are all going again this week, and I'm real glad. Mindy, after they were up here on that Monday, she stayed with me all week, and I really had a good chance to talk to her, and we were talking about some of the stuff from that, and she says, I forgot how good it is, so they decided to go back. When she was here, we had a chance to pick all the pears we wanted free. This is up here, they grow a lot of pears besides the apples. And so we went out in the orchard one day with these Myers, and then her sister, and our pastor's wife, and they all have real big families, so they had all their kids, and Mindy went with me, and we took my old truck, and between all of us and their kids, the whole truck was full of pears. So I've been canning pears for a couple days. I'm all through now. I guess it's probably the same back there, but there is such a shortage on jars and lids. because they say people are just canning like crazy, even in San Francisco and areas where you wouldn't think people can. And people up here are selling used fruit jars for $1 a piece. Can you believe it? Luckily, I had a lot of empty mayonnaise jars, and I couldn't buy lids up here at all. But when I went to Walnut Creek, there was 2 boxes, I think, left at a store by Sue's house. I had to buy the rims on everything. You can't just buy the lids. So anyway, that week Mindy was here, we picked plums and pears, and I've been making this. I don't know if you've probably had apple butter, but out of these real tart plums are not too good to eat, but it makes real good plum butter. And so I've been making that and canning pears, and I've never canned before this year, and I always thought it was so hard. It's really nice to have all that food put away. I got awful tired of peeling pears, but it took me like two long sessions to do. I did 26, I think, quarts of pears, and I did quite a bit of plum butter, but I have a bunch of pulp frozen in the freezer so I can make more later. Ted, my neighbor down here, he had quite a few jars, and he told me a long time ago I could have them, so when there was a shortage, I went down, but he'd already promised them to somebody else, so he gave me a few, but he wasn't able to give me too many. But anyway, I've learned how to can this summer, and I really like doing it. I like the way it looks when you get a whole shelf of food and think, I don't have to buy that now all winter. This Janice told me a way to make them with Red Hots. I just made about 5 quarts with Red Hots in the syrup. I melted them in those little red candies, and it makes them like cinnamon pears, and it turns the pears pink. They're real pretty, like for salad. This Friday night, our church is having this dinner, and they divide all the people up into groups and send there's about 4 or 5 couples at different homes, and they go there for dinner, and then we all meet back at the church for dessert, and they're trying to get people acquainted. Our church is growing so fast that you really can't get to know people, so they try to put people together who don't know each other, and in a small group like that, you do get to know them pretty well. So this time we're having a group at our house, and because of the way the meat is, they have everybody bring their own meat and barbecue it. And then, just a minute. Everybody brings their own meat, and then I just have to provide everything else, like salads and baked potatoes and stuff. So it's really pretty easy, and we're going to eat outside, so we're going to have 10 people here. We have a new couple in our church. He's a pathologist, and his mother is a history teacher at Biola, and they just moved here, and that's one couple that's coming. I really don't know them very well. And then this Shirley Christopher, it's Janice's sister, they're coming. And then we have these 2 boys coming. They're out of college, and they're building a house up here with their grandfather. One is going into the ministry. He's going to seminary in January. They're really nice guys. They're brothers, so they're coming. And then McCallans are coming here. So I know most of the people. I just don't know really that one couple. So it'll be pretty easy, I think. Dean's going to build like a little barbecue pit. He took our floor furnace out. I don't know if you remember, in our hallway. That our motor and everything got flooded, and that furnace is so old that it's not worth fixing. So we took the furnace out and covered up the hole, and tomorrow they're coming to patch the carpeting over it, so we won't have that thing in the hall, which I'm really glad for. But there was some metal, like sheet metal, down there on the furnace, and he's going to dig a pit like in the ground and line it with this metal and make like a big barbecue place for that, for that many people. Only pretty big thing. Oh, by the way, I love that potato ricer. It is so neat. The other night we had fried chicken and salad and rice potatoes and chicken gravy and some kind of vegetable. So I was trying to duplicate the Juniper Valley dinner, but it wasn't quite quite the same, but it was pretty good. But Dean really likes those potatoes, and I do too. I thought you had to peel the potatoes, and I read someplace, I saw one in a store, and I was reading the directions, and it says, you don't have to, you just boil them whole, and then just, when it goes through the ricer, it leaves the skin in the ricer, and it does. So I just boil the potatoes and stick one in at a time and hold it over a plate and all the potatoes come out and the peeling stay in. So it's even neater than I thought. So I really like that thing. I don't know if I told you, I've seen them all over the place though, so I guess I thought it was going to be a rare antique, but I guess they're still making them. Here comes Amy with some fish. Oh, Marilee, I was really glad you had some more of those pictures from Grandma Orrs' reading books. I'm really excited about doing that for Pat. I know she's going to really, really like it. So there's no rush, because I'm going to do it for Christmas, so don't. You sound pretty busy, and I know you're getting Gina Lee off to school and everything, so I just wanted to find out if you had some, so I could do that for Christmas. Our weather's been really fall weather for a couple weeks. It's just perfect weather. It's not too hot or too cold, just right. It's the way you'd like it to be all the time. Leaves are starting to fall, and we've had a couple of real windy times. What happened? A break?
Yeah.
Too bad. So we're supposed to have a real early winter, so I think it's going to be, because we still haven't been able to get any wood because there's been another fire. So they're not letting people go out and cut wood at all. So we don't have much wood to start the winter with, but once they let them go in, I guess it won't take us too long to do it. That Jim Myers, he's real busy. He works pretty long hours, but he has these 3 boys in high school, and they really like to go out and get wood, so if they go out and will help Dean, and they have a chainsaw, they can get, double amount of wood and take one of their trucks and our truck and load them both up at once, and they'll help Dean, and he can, their dad doesn't like them to go out, without an adult, so Dean can be with him, plus they can help Dean load the wood and stuff, so he won't need me to go load it, which I'm glad for. I'm going to start playing tennis twice a week. Won't have much time, probably about a month before it starts raining. But that Lynn McCowan, she plays about like I do. She asked me to go up Tuesdays and Thursdays and just play for about an hour. So we're going to start tomorrow. Kind of anxious to do that. Oh, let's see. Started piano lessons last week, and I have 8 students, and this lady asked me, she has 3 kids that she wants to start, and so I might take them, and some kids came over today too they wanted to take, and I said no, I don't want to take anymore. So I got more business than I can handle. I'm doing it on Tuesday and Wednesday, and that's all I want to do it, so I don't get too tied down, and just for a couple hours on each day. Well, let's see. Can't really think of any news. Merely I got my buckets that we bought. Remember, got those planted, and they look real cute, my plants, and they're doing real good so far. Oh, Amy has a puppet. What's your puppet's name?
Rhea.
Rhea? Rhea. Oh, that's a new name. She really comes up with the names here. Can your puppet talk?
No. Can my puppet talk?
Yeah.
No, it can't.
Oh.
Can you take this off?
Well, I guess Jack and David and Debbie are coming back.
No.
Or maybe they're back there now. I know they're supposed to be there in September. Man, this month is going by so fast. It's already almost the middle. And that means Wesley's birthday is coming up. I don't want to be too early, but I don't want to be late. And Gina Lee, I guess, is getting ready to go, and Annette's probably already started in school. So it's hard to believe another school year has started. Let's see. Dean is still doing that thing on Wednesday night, that Bible study. It's really good. Really, a lot of people are starting to come. People really seem to like it. Really does a good job. We've all been feeling real good. Dean sort of had a sore throat and a cold, and I had it a couple weeks before. It's something that's going around here. But it doesn't seem to last too long. And Amy's real healthy and seems to be growing really fast. So I had to order all her underpants were too tight and everything, so I had to order her some things from Sears just to get her stocked up kind of for how big she is now. Let's see. It seemed like I had something else to tell you. When I was at Jeannie, she gave me a whole bunch of material for my quilt too, and real cute stuff because she makes a lot of her kids' clothes. So there's a lot of cute prints and everything. So I think I have enough to finish it. I haven't done anything since I've been home. Seems like I've just been doing things with the fruit and stuff. And I only have one more thing left to do. Somebody's given me a bunch of tomatoes that I'm gonna can. So after I'm done with that, I'll be off through, and then I'm gonna make all my sisters flannel nightgowns for Christmas. I made Pat one last Christmas, and they all wanted one, so I thought that would be a good thing because they all can wear the same size, and I have this pattern. So I'm gonna make everybody that. I'm gonna start making those and start working on my quilt. And then somebody gave me patterns for Amy, but I really hate to make dresses, but maybe I'll attempt it again. Maybe I'll get in the mood when it gets cold. Well, maybe I should close for a while. I just kind of at the end of my news here. I went pretty far on the tape. I was going to try to get a whole side done tonight and then get Dean to talk a little while. Maybe I could finish it in the morning and get this mail to you. So maybe I'll try to think of some other news, and then I'll talk a little bit later. Well, Amy has rejoined me. Do you have something to say?
No, Daddy. Yeah.
Well, you have to talk, and then you can hear yourself or sing. We haven't learned any new songs for a while. We're going to have to start learning some new ones, aren't we?
An airplane.
Yeah, airplanes keep flying around our house, little ones. They use those. That's not what these are, but during that fire, they were flying right over our house, these big old bombers that they bomb.
Fire.
You're too loud. They spray this chemical to put out forest fires. Aim, can you ask Grandma how her bike is? Ask her if she's riding her bike.
No.
You don't want to? That's really good how far you're riding your bike. You ought to really get in good shape doing that every day. You'll have to think of something you could do in the winter. I don't know what you could do there in the winter to do, I guess, run in place in your trailer. It's not as much fun as riding a bike. That's really good, though, that you ride that much. I think that's really... I know my grandmother, if she would have started doing things like that a while back, that's most of her problem is her circulation, and she just doesn't move hardly. And now, there's really nothing wrong with her except that she hasn't done it for so long that it's kind of hard to start now. My grandma just had her 77th birthday. I saw her the other day. I took some pears down to Faith. All my pears started getting ripe. I had boxes of them, and they were just perfect, just real pretty shaped, but they all got ripe at once. So I took her a box and tried to think who I could give them to. Up here, a lot of people get them free. So now it's apple season. I thought I'd be through with the tomatoes, but then I'm going to make some applesauce. I guess I'll be through after maybe I'll start making the nightgowns in October, I guess. And wait till the apple thing's over. I like doing all this stuff, though, and I'm not, since I'm not real busy or working, I can kind of enjoy doing it and not have to rush or do it when I'm tired.
Too close.
Do you want to say something to Grandma Orr before I quit? Say, howdy.
Harry?
Can you say hi to Gina Lee?
No.
We had so much fun looking at our slides came back, and Amy got to see her lion birthday cake, and she got to see Wesley and Annette and Gina Lee and Auntie Marilee.
I was see the lion cake.
Yeah, oh, that was fun to see that lion cake again, wasn't it? She got to show it to Grandma and Grandpa got to see it, and they loved that cake, didn't they? I thought it was really neat. Pictures turned out real good, but they weren't too much different than the ones Marilee took, so I didn't think I'd send them to you because there's really not anything too different. So I have another roll that's about half done that I think has some of us here and stuff, so if they're very good, I'll send them. Well, I'm just sort of rambling here, so I'll close for now.
I want to talk a while. It's this is just later on from when Bonnie was talking in the evening. I have a little more life. I took a little rest from laying all that tile. It looks pretty good though, so I'm glad I did it. Bonnie said that she was going to have me tell just a little bit about Dave. Most of the time I just kind of spent talking to him. He really doesn't look too much different that I can tell than when we saw him the last time. He was really skinny then, and maybe he is slimmer, but I just can't really tell it. He has to change position kind of often. I think it's because he's so skinny that when he lays in one spot too long, it just really hurts him. He lays on this. It's kind of a very skinny air mattress kind of an affair. And on top of that he has a couple of inch thick foam pad, and then on that he has a sheepskin. There's something about, or some kind of animal skin or something, there's something about that makes it very good in comparison to just laying on something like a foam or something like that. And so he just kind of lays back and forth. I think it really hurts him. I don't think he sits up at all. I think he just kind of lays down flat mostly. And his brother Danny, he has this thing that comes up over the bed, and it has like a bar on it that you can reach up and grab. And I think if he does want to raise up, that's how he has to do it. His brother Danny made him a little thing that fits on it to hold a book. Since he's off this chemotherapy, he's not taking that any longer. He feels a lot better. That chemotherapy really was bad for him. It must affect people in different ways. Bonnie's aunt's brother, I think it is, he was on some chemotherapy, and it really did him a lot of good. But with Dave, it just was really bad. He said he just didn't feel like doing anything, and he felt emotionally it was really bad for him. He felt just like he said he was just very nervous feeling all of the time, kind of like you'd wind up a clock and it would never run down. The spring was just real tight. That's the way he said he felt. and so he didn't feel like reading, and he said he got very, very impatient, and it was very, very hard for him to have the kids come in. He said after about 5 minutes, it was just too much. So because of that, he decided that he couldn't see where it was doing any good. So they just asked the doctor if it was possible that they would rather, or he would rather just to stop taking it. And so he really feels a lot better, and he feels like reading now, and that's why his brother Danny made him this thing to hold a book. And he is doing a little writing, I think he said, sometimes. He was saying that people are always giving him things to read and stuff, books. And some of the books that he's read are by people who really are not sick, and or maybe they've been sick and are now okay. And he said he just thinks that if he feels like it, he might just start putting down some thoughts that he has about what it feels like when you're not getting better. Just some thoughts that he's had and some things that he's discovered during this time. He makes a 8-minute tape, 8 to 10 minute tape for Sunday morning in their church. He says they just like this. He says he really gets tired of making them, but they seem to like them so much, and he saves all of these. And a lot of the things that he would like to maybe eventually organize into a little book or something are on these tapes. From the way I talked to him, for the way he was talking to me, I don't think he feels that he's going to really make it through this. I know Jeannie, in talking to Bonnie, really kind of feels that he is, but he just didn't have, the way he was talking, he didn't say one way or the other, but I could just tell from the way he was talking. He said that he had never told Jeannie this, but he said he really feels sometimes that he would just like to die. And he said it's he said he really doesn't feel like that he really has to live. He said before, I was worrying about, well, what would happen to Jeannie and what would happen to the kids and what would happen to the church and all of this, but he said that is really past, and he said he's just ready to die. And the thing that he's kind of come to the conclusion is that just whatever happens is okay for him. He was telling about an incident where his father, and I think Jeannie's father was there too, and then the deacons from his church, they came over to pray for him. And he said that all of this has had really an effect on his father. He said his father is just, well, let's see, how did he describe it? I guess he appeared like that he had everything in control all the time, and he was very hesitant to show any emotions, no matter who he was with. And he said this has really changed him. He said for the first time he's seen his dad cry, and it's really a rough situation, so I can see where his father would do that, even if he had never done that before at all, because this is really a hard situation. But he said that people from his dad's church just all of them have noticed that this has really had an effect on him. It's a good effect. It's been really hard for him, but the thing that has happened has really been some good things have happened. And anyway, Dave said that his father, before he started to pray, said, there are 3 questions I'd like to ask you. One is, would you be willing to die if the Lord would really choose that for you at this time? And then the other question was, would you be willing to be healed if that would be what would really glorify God at this time? And then the other thing, and he said his dad could barely say it because he just got really, really choked up and everything. He said, would you be willing just to lay there and suffer if that would glorify God? And what Dave has kind of come to reconcile is that maybe any one of those 3 things could happen, but the 2 that appear like the most likely of the 2 now is the fact that maybe he will just suffer for a while, or maybe God will just take him home. He said that the thing this has taught him is that God can accomplish things in the least likely way we think it's going to happen. He said, I thought that I could really have a real effect on the people of this church where he was a pastor of by getting up and preaching and things like that. And he said, really, and he said, I'm not bragging about this, but he said, since all of this has happened, more people have been affected in that church in a more deep way than he said I could have ever been used if I would have been healthy. And not only in his church there, but his father's church. And I just, there's a verse in 2 Corinthians. After we came home, I was thinking about Paul when he said that he prayed to the Lord that he would take away a thorn in the flesh. It's found in the 12th chapter of 2 Corinthians. And starting in verse 8 it says, 3 times I besought the Lord about this, that it should leave me. He's referring to what he calls the thorn in the flesh, whatever that was to him. And then it goes on in verse 9, but he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. And then Paul goes on to say, I will all the more gladly boast of my weaknesses, that the power of Christ may rest upon me. For the sake of Christ, then, I am content with weaknesses, insults, hardships, persecutions, and calamities. For when I am weak, then I am strong. And he said that through all of this, it's just God has just kind of used that situation with him to affect people's lives. And he said, I told him, he said, about praying for him. I just said that I really didn't know how to pray for him. Initially, I had prayed that he be healed, And I know that hundreds of people are praying that for him too. And it's just that it seems like that God has chosen that, at least at this time, that not happen. And so he said that, he realized that, and he realized that probably most people had been praying for him to be healed, but he said that the thing that they keep falling back on is that one phrase there where it says, my grace is sufficient for you. And there's that other verse in Corinthians that says that God is not going to put us through something that we cannot handle, providing we respond with the right attitudes. And I think that the key with all of this with Dave is simply the way he has responded. He says it's really hard, and there have been times when he's felt like, just saying, that's enough, God. But that's the way I'm just kind of praying for him now, is just on a daily basis that he would have the grace just to make it through that day. There's a man that we have a book called The Life of Christ in Stereo. It really is good. You might like to get it and read it. It's this man has taken the account of the life of Christ from the four Gospels, and he's put everything in sequential order. It took him 20 years to do this, and he memorized most of the four Gospels in Greek. And he did all of this when he was in bed. He had tuberculosis, and he was in bed for 20 years. And during this time, he spent those 20 years compiling the sequential order. And I guess there are a lot of problems involved. I really don't understand what they are, but Dr. Rodmacher, who's president of the Portland Seminary up there, it's a Baptist, conservative Baptist. I think that's where David went, and Joe up there. The last 3 years, he worked with him on it, and he was saying what a difficult job it was. And I was just thinking about him. And about 3 days after he finished the book, he died. And he says in the introduction that he probably would not have undertaken that task except that happened. I know Bill Gothard really talks about in that Basic Youth Conflicts the fact of what God does through suffering, and how through the physical suffering that maybe some people may have to go through, and how he's wanting to accomplish certain things in our life or in the lives of others, and that's the only way that he can do it. And if we simply respond with the right attitudes, then we can really claim that verse where he says, but my grace is sufficient for you. And I think that other thought there when he says, for my power is made perfect in weakness, simply kind of shows that it's only through his power. And we get to thinking we're such clever organizers and planners and all of that, and I think he's just telling us there that even when we may think that we're able to do nothing, how he can simply move in and accomplish his purpose. And it was really no strain or anything to talk to Dave. I really didn't know what to expect or what. He just talks about it, very openly. He says it's really kind of hard when people come and he can tell right away when they're trying to just not they're afraid to what to say, and so they really don't have anything to talk about. He said, there's nothing that really happens to me too much. I don't really have that much to talk about, so about the only thing I can talk about is just this, how I feel or stuff like that, or just some general things. And so he really doesn't mind talking about it at all. He really acted like he liked for us to come. I know Jeannie really likes for Bonnie to come. I think she can probably talk to her at a more confidential level than she may talk to anybody else. And I had a chance to play with their kids a little bit. I think their little girl Karen really wanted to play, so I was out playing with her and Amy. And I think she probably misses, her dad used to take a lot of time with her, Dave did, and so I think she probably misses that. So we are just, I think maybe that's a little cue as to maybe how to pray for them, just that God's grace would be sufficient just for that day, and that they would be able to face that day, and depending upon that grace that He's going to give them. Oh, let's see. Man, I've been talking a long time about that. We started school last week. We went 4 days. We started on Tuesday. Then we went 4 days. Then we had today off. It's Admissions Day in California. And now we'll have a 4-day week this week. Right now, I'm not really doing all that much. I kind of like the kids I work with. I kind of like to wait a week or even 2, so that they can kind of get back into the routine of being in the regular class. They spend a lot of their time just with their regular teacher, and I like for them to kind of get used to the routine, and for the teacher to kind of get to know them a little bit. And then I do some things for the teachers. This next week, the 4th through 6th grade teachers are giving some reading tests that we'll use to help group some kids. So my aide and I will correct them all, and we're getting stuff ready that we'll use during the year. Then I test all the new 7th and 8th graders who've come in. I finished that up though, and so pretty soon I'll be really hard at it. We're having these committees this year. All the teachers are on 1 or 2 committees, and we meet periodically during the year. I'm chairman of a reading committee. We look over our reading program. This is in 2 districts. Our superintendent is superintendent of 2 districts. And then I'm on another committee, and I think we meet tomorrow or Wednesday, I'm not sure. I think it's tomorrow though. So that's going to take a little bit of time. Our school is really getting crowded. The 3rd grade is on double sessions. That means part of the kids come from 8 to 12, and another group comes from 12 to 3:30, and there are 2 separate teachers. That happens when you have more kids in space, so you simply double up that way. Actually, I kind of like it. That's, in my opinion, plenty long enough for kids to be at school. The only problem is it's kind of a headache for some parents, especially those at work, because their kids are either getting home at 12 or are leaving at 12, so that kind of, and some of the parents don't like it for that reason. But it does give the teacher a lot of time to plan without having to do it at home. So I really think in the long run, as far as the educational part of it, some really good things happen. when that takes place. Some of the time of school, you're just kind of biding time anyway. It really is a long time for kids to be at school. Especially some of the kids, the younger ones. Let's see. I think maybe I'll stop for now. I'm reading this book I got down at Matt and Pat's called Designed to Be Like Him. It's by Dwight Pentecost from Dallas Seminary. It's really good. So I'm reading it, and I got me a new study Bible. Well, I have all these Bibles. I must have about 7 or 8 different ones. I just got one the other day called a Harper Study Bible. It's really good. It's kind of like a Schofield Reference Bible. It's from the Revised Version. It's based on that, and then it has a lot of commentary and a concordance and maps, and it's all outlined. I really, really like it. The verses are in paragraph form, so you can tell units real easy, and I kind of like that for study purposes rather than just the verses, kind of like the way the King James Bible is or the New American Standard Bible. I'm still teaching the Wednesday night Bible study on the family. Pastor really is glad I'm doing it. He's really kind of a unique pastor. It's the only pastor I ever heard of that is delighted that somebody teaches the Wednesday night Bible study instead of him. He really is thorough in preparation, and so with him preparing for Wednesday morning or rather Sunday morning and Sunday night, that takes a lot of his time. Plus, he likes to call on people, and he has other things that he has to do. So this just really gives him a break, and I really think it's scriptural, what we're doing. I think the book Body Life that we talked about people having gifts, I think kind of like what your church does, if there are people within the group of believers who can really teach, they ought to be teaching, no matter if you have a pastor or don't have a pastor. They ought to be teaching. And depending on how you're set up for organization, the way ours works, we simply have a one Wednesday night thing, and so it seems to work out quite well. I think I'm going to stop right now. There's just a little bit left, and maybe Bonnie will finish it up tomorrow.
Well, it's now Tuesday morning, September 11th, and in about an hour I'm going to go play tennis. I wanted to mail this on my way. I couldn't believe how much Dean had talked. He talked almost as much as I did, so it's pretty good, with no urging from me. He usually says he can't think of anything to say, but he is getting to be more of a talker, it seems like, at times, you know. I'm kind of glad he doesn't talk all the time, and I probably listen to him more when he does talk. Boy, I really don't have any more news since last night. I think I'll just stop a minute and see if I can think of a few last-minute things that you might be interested in. Well, I really hate to stop short of the end of the tape, but I'm really out of any news. Kind of back in a routine here, and not too much out of the ordinary is happening. We have another really beautiful day today, and I just really hope this weather will continue. We're supposed to, it gets maybe in the high 70s or low 80s at the most, but it's just at night just good for sleeping, and leaves are falling quite a bit already, so it really is nice. I think I made our last tape since my birthday, but I wanted to thank you for the cards and for Amy's cards, and Merrily, I like the one with the bread on it. That was really cute. By the way, I'm still making a lot of bread. I have to hurry up and get it in the freezer so I don't get carried away here. But I just tried a new sourdough type, sourdough wheat bread, and it's really good. So I'm still interested in that, and just so I don't get too interested in eating it as much as I'd like to. It's the only drawback about making it. But anyway, I think I will close because I just don't have any other news, and I want to get this in the mail. So we'll try to get a tape to you again sooner than this last time. I always say that, but I hope that maybe I'll get on a little schedule here where I'll send them more frequently. So I'll just say goodbye for now.